the prior Biden-Harris EPA issued a waiver to California for tailpipe emissions. This was a rule that should have been submitted to Congress. We will submit it to Congress. Congress will have the opportunity through the Congressional Review Act to make that waiver go away.
All right, so the EPA strikes down California's emissions rules, probably for good. What does that mean for California? But more importantly, what does that mean for the entire United States of America? I'm going to be following this story as it progresses, so if you want to hear more about it and some breaking news, definitely subscribe to the channel and of course hit that notification bell. Also, I will leave a link in the description, truckmasterdiesel.com. It's our personal website for our YouTube channel. We sell a lot of diesel truck parts. Upon purchase of anything on the website, you're automatically entered in to win this toolbox. So I will leave that link in the description. It's going to end really soon, so don't miss your opportunity. So let's go ahead and get right into this. The Environmental Protection Agency, or the EPA, has begun the process of reversing advanced clean trucks and 2 other California vehicle emissions rules using a method that could make it difficult for future administrations to reinstate them. So if a Democrat gets elected and they decide to go ahead and reinstate these rules, they can't do it. That's kind of a big deal. There's a lot of buzz on the internet about talks possibly allowing us to legally tune and delete our diesel pickup trucks, LS engines. And the reason why this topic is so important is because California is essentially the flagship of the EPA regulations, if you think about it. Not laws, but I'm just gonna say it, regulations. But I guess the biggest question, is it legal now to delete your diesel truck? And obviously the answer is no. But the fact that they laid off thousands of government employees, not to mention the strikes that are going on at the EPA all across the country, part of what makes this country great is the automotive industry, and the longer that we allow the EPA to continue to force these unrealistic rules on our emissions, the more unreliable these vehicles will be. So I'm gonna go ahead and get back on topic here, but definitely watch till the very end because I'm gonna give you guys my prediction on where I think the EPA is going to be at and also the enforcement of emissions as well. But on Friday, February 14th, the EPA announced it will be sending Congress 3 rules issued during the Biden administration, granting California a waiver for advanced clean cars 2, advanced clean car trucks, and the heavy-duty omnibus regulation. Using the Congressional Review Act, Congress will review the rules and could strike them down with a simple majority vote. President Donald Trump's current approach to reversing California's vehicle emission rules differs from the approach taken during his first term. In 2019, Trump's EPA simply revoked the waiver for advanced clean cars, marking the first time one of California's waivers was stripped away. And that sparked a legal challenge because when Joe Biden was elected, he then reinstated the waiver when he assumed office. And when the EPA granted the waiver for advanced clean trucks, it did not submit the rule to Congress for review. But the Advanced Clean Truck Regulation is part of a holistic approach to accelerating a large-scale reduction of tailpipe emissions, focusing on zero emissions. The regulation has 2 components, including a manufacturer sale requirement and a reporting requirement. And here's some of the facts I wanted to go over with you guys on this regulation would be zero emission truck sales. Manufacturers who certify Class 2B to 8 chassis or complete vehicles with combustion engines would be required to sell zero emission trucks as an increasing percentage of their annual California sales from 2024 to 2035. And if they're forcing you to buy an electric car, that's not as bad as a diesel truck or the advanced clean truck. I mean, think about it. Even if I was to hook up a Cybertruck to my gooseneck, which that would be fun to do, but I mean, how efficient is that? How many times do I have to pull over to charge that stupid thing for an hour or 2 to get back on the road? It's not efficient at all. Not only that, it's going to put a strain on the power grid, which is going to, of course, drive power prices up even more in the price of goods. But obviously, it's going to be worse. But the act, or the advanced clean truck that I'm referring to, it just doesn't make a lot of sense, especially now. This time around, Trump's EPA is using the Congressional Review Act to undo advanced clean trucks and other California rules. The Congressional Review Act requires agencies to submit major rules to Congress for review. Congress has 60 days from when a rule goes into effect to pass a joint resolution of disapproval invalidating a rule. But the Trump administration is taking advantage of a loophole in the Congressional Review Act to put advanced clean trucks on the chopping block. When the EPA granted the waiver for advanced clean trucks, it did not submit the rule to Congress for review. And per the Congressional Review Act, a rule goes into effect when Congress receives it for review or when it is published in the Federal Register, whichever is later. By finding that advanced clean trucks should have been submitted to Congress, the EPA can decide to do exactly that, effectively starting the 60-day clock. So essentially, we have 60 days, guys. We're gonna find something out. So I'm gonna keep you guys posted, of course, on that. The Biden administration failed to send rules on California's waivers to Congress, preventing members of Congress from deciding on extremely consequential actions that have massive impacts and cost across the entire United States. The Trump EPA is transparently correcting this wrong and rightly following the rule of law. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin said in a statement, "The American people are struggling to make ends meet while dealing with rules that take away their ability to choose a safe and affordable vehicle for their families. As an agency, we are accountable to Congress, but most importantly, we must be accountable to the American people." It kind of sounds like this new administrator for the EPA, Lee Zeldin, is on our side. I think we're all pretty excited to see what his next move is going to be. If there are enough votes in Congress to reverse waivers for advanced clean trucks, a new administration could not reinstate it like the Biden administration did with advanced clean cars. Once a rule is struck down through the Congressional Review Act, an agency cannot establish the same rule or similar one. And the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association appreciates the EPA's efforts to protect small business truckers across the country. Setting national policy is a responsibility of Congress, not California. It is no wonder small business truckers have left the state in droves to find better opportunities elsewhere. Vehicle responsibility and affordability are critical. So far, there is no convincing evidence that the electrical commercial motor vehicles are a viable option for small business truckers given the high cost and inadequate charging infrastructure. Additionally, CARB's overreaching omnibus NOx rules have raised prices on new vehicles and increasing maintenance costs for trucks already on the road. And basically what they're talking about is the costly repairs on emission systems on these newer diesel trucks. And listen, it's getting to that point when the emissions fail on these vehicles and everything has to be replaced. It's getting to the point where it's almost totaling the vehicle with the value of how much money it's going to cost in labor and parts to replace all that stuff. Washington Trucking Association President Sherry Call said revoking the waiver would significantly benefit medium and heavy duty trucks, which we would welcome. The American Trucking Association also commended the EPA's move to send advanced clean trucks to Congress for review. And it goes on to say that this is not the United States of California. AT&T President Chris Spear said in a statement, "California should never be given the keys to set national policy and regulate America's supply chain." But after going through all of that, what does this have to do with me? If I don't live in the state of California, what does this matter? And take a very good look at this picture right here. These are all of the states that are embracing the electric trucks, which is basically forcing people to go zero emissions. States that are embracing the electric trucks: California, Colorado, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Vermont, Washington, Maryland, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Connecticut, Maine, Washington, D.C., Hawaii, North Carolina, and Virginia. And yeah, these states have already signed the 100% zero emissions truck MOU and are working on adopting the advanced clean truck rule. And I understand that what I'm talking about isn't really new news as far as the year 2035 going completely zero emissions, forcing folks to drive electric vehicles. I know that Trump's vocalized that multiple times, that he will not allow that to happen under his administration. This advanced clean truck regulation that was basically backdoored through our government is going to be full steam ahead. And obviously this regulation is going after the trucking industry, the semi-trucks. But listen, if your truck takes diesel exhaust fluid, no matter what size it is, it's targeted. There's a lot of vetting going on in the EPA, and this is a big win for a lot of us in the industry. But the fact that it could make it difficult for future administrations to reinstate them, if you do a little bit more digging, some of these waivers are stating that they want to take some of these older vehicles off the road. Like for example, this orange one's a 2003 Chevy Silverado Duramax LB7. So this truck from the factory, Duramax wise, never came with emissions. So this truck would not be legal in the state of California just because it doesn't have emissions on it. Even this one right here, this is a Dodge Cummins 24 valve 99, an old truck. Doesn't have emissions, it's a diesel. But these trucks will not be able to drive on the roads. I'm gonna do a follow-up video on this video, so subscribe to the channel, and I wanna hear your guys' feedback and thoughts. With the channel this small, it's just too bad that I can't get Lee Zeldin or maybe a spokesperson from the EPA to get on my channel so we can talk a little bit more about this. I mean, anything's possible. As a matter of fact, he's just 45 minutes away from my location right now. He's in Flint talking to the authorities about the Flint water crisis. But here's the thing, with all of the corruption, with all of the wasteful spending going on with the EPA, not to mention the $20 billion that they found for so-called green bank to pay for climate and clean energy programs, it definitely leaves a lot of question marks, and not to mention all of the wasteful spending going on with the EPA agents, people that shouldn't even be employed there. I mean, just by last Wednesday, EPA is already talking about cutting back the workforce by 65% in the agency. There's a big reason why I post these videos, and a lot of it is because I want to give you guys accurate information. There's a lot of influencers on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook that are telling you guys that it is now legal to delete and tune your diesel truck or just remove emissions off of a vehicle. All I'm trying to say is be careful. Obviously, they're scaling back the employment in the EPA. It's going to take a lot of money. It's going to take a lot of research, a lot of time to try to go after the small guy. But at the end of the day, some of the cases from last year are still pending. When it comes to diesel shops that got busted by the EPA for deleting and tuning trucks, let me read this article to you guys really quick so you guys get an understanding. A diesel repair shop and its owner were indicted by federal grand jury this week on charges related to violations of the Clean Air Act. And it goes on to say that this diesel shop was indicted for conspiracy to impede the lawful functions of the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA. Officials say that between 2013 and March 12, 2024, this diesel shop worked to delete or disable hardware emissions control systems on the diesel vehicles. And it goes on to say that if they're convicted, the maximum sentence is 9 years in prison, terms of supervised release following imprisonment, and a fine. So obviously this is still going on, but also it begs the question that if this finally goes away, the Clean Air Act goes away, which is looking pretty promising right now with everything going on, are they going to get restitution? Are all of these companies that got busted in the past going to get money back if they got sued by the government? Obviously they're not going to just close all of these cases overnight, but the fact that they're still ongoing raises some questions. So all I'm trying to say, guys, is just be careful. This is my prediction. It's still going to be illegal to tamper with emission systems, but no one's going to enforce it. That's what I think is going to happen eventually, because they're already revoking waivers in California and of course other states that are going to be adopting this. But here's the influencer coming out of me right now. I need to say this. Let's just say hypothetically they're not enforcing it. The doors are now wide open. You can now tune your diesel truck. You can remove emissions off of it. You can tamper with emissions, even though I think it's still going to be illegal. Don't ruin it for the rest of us. Don't be driving around the streets acting like idiots rolling coal. I would say that we as a diesel community are asking for it if we continue to act in that behavior. And listen, it's fun to roll coal just like the next guy. It's pretty awesome to see black smoke barreling out of a diesel stack. There's nothing like it. Unfortunately, all of that black smoke is unburnt fuel. Your engine obviously isn't running as efficient as it should. I guess what I'm trying to say though is don't ruin it for all of us. If you're gonna do it on a back road. Do it somewhere where people can't see you do it. More and more of these regulations will be continued to be pushed because we can't control ourselves. But with all of these small baby steps that are happening as we see it unfold, I see big things changing here in the near future. And as a matter of fact, I think it's gonna change within this year. So stay with me, guys. Hey, again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you found any value in this video, definitely hit the like button for me. And on your way out, check out the website, truckmasterdiesel.com. I'll leave that link in the comments below. Click on it, get something, get entered in for that toolbox giveaway. It's gonna end really, really soon. But other than that, I appreciate you guys watching. As always, we'll see you on the next one. Stay tuned.